All right. Welcome to the Square State Sandlot podcast. I'm your host, Bill, and I've got my good buddy Tyler Foster joining me today. It's amazing that we've been able to be friends so long with you being a Broncos fan and me being a Raiders fan, but that's kind of what we wanted to bring you on for, is to kind of get your opinion on the Broncos season and how it's gone. Obviously not how you hoped it would go, but
Nope.
just want to hear your thoughts and we'll go from there.
They got one thing they have to do in this offseason is figure out a different offensive scheme. That offense has been flat for a while. I mean, even in the last Peyton Manning year, it was pretty flat, but they can't get that offense to bounce back. I mean, the defenses haven't been too terrible. Last year wasn't anything to write home about, but this year I really didn't see much problems with the defense. Especially with the departure of Von Miller, I didn't think that the defense struggled too much. It's that offense just can't seem to convert in the red zone and get some first downs when it's crucial. And that coach has some crazy time management for the game.
Yes. He seems, and the thing that's crazy to me is Vic is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league for sure.
Yeah.
But there's definitely times in a game where his time management and, even just getting a play call in, which isn't completely on him. I mean, that's the offensive coordinator's responsibility, but he doesn't know when to call a timeout. And I don't know. It just seems weird that you have some of those guys that are just fantastic coordinators, but when it comes to them getting elevated to head coach, they just can't seem to get it done. And it seems like he's in that boat, but he's been doing well enough where it's been hard for management to say we need to move on from this guy. Do you think this offseason will be the one where they finally cut ties, or what do you see going on with that?
There's been some stuff going on back and forth that I've been reading about. There was some rumors too that they were going to cut him halfway through the season, but they ended up getting rid of Von Miller instead. So I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I'm not like you said, Fangio's great with the defense, and I'm wondering if that's why the defense is really good. I'm wondering if they may make changes on the offensive side. I think his name's Shermer. I wonder if they'll get rid of him. Pat Shermer, I think his name is.
Is that your defensive coordinator or your offensive coordinator?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
And I wonder if they'll get rid of him. It'd be nice to see if they can convince Peyton Manning to come back as an offensive coordinator.
I think
that'd be my thing. I would try to talk that guy into it.
I think he could do it, but I think he has much higher aspirations. I think he wants to be more of a GM or front office guy more than on the field.
I think so too. But if I could sweet talk him into it, I'd try to give it my best on that one.
Yeah. I think he can do just about anything in the league that he puts his mind to, but I think his eyes more on that commissioner position, if I were to guess. So
yeah, that'd be true.
Pays a little better than an offensive coordinator, so I hear.
Yeah, but even if that, it'd be cool just to see Tony Romo become an offensive coordinator at one point too. That guy's got some predictive play calling in that booth.
Yeah, the only problem with that is I think he's making about $18 million a year to be in the booth. I don't think you're going to drag him out of that stage, but I think this will probably be the season. Just my opinion. I think this will probably be the season they move on from Vic if they have a better candidate that they think can move him on. I think the thing that's been really holding him back is obviously Elway gave up the GM position this past offseason, but his inability to find a quarterback to replace Peyton Manning really kind of puts you guys into an offensive rut. And I don't know that Pat Shermer necessarily needs to go, but there's got to be someone in that building that can evaluate talent at quarterback. And not that this is the off season to be looking for one in the draft, but there's several high profile veteran quarterbacks that are rumored to be coming onto the market. So let's just say you had a pick. You were the general manager of the Denver Broncos, and proposal from each team came through to you, and you were offered Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and then who's the other one that's also possibly going to be? I feel like I'm missing one. That might be it.
I think that's it. That's all I've heard.
Okay, so let's say those three, you have trade proposals. They all make sense for you. Who are you pulling the trigger on? Or are you looking for the draft?
Well, we haven't had much luck in the draft. We drafted what Ripien or whatever his name is.
Ripien.
Yeah. That I don't know. That one is kind of he hasn't had a lot of playing time, but he also had the one that replaced Peyton Manning. I'm blanking on his name. He went to the Texans.
Osweiler.
Yeah, Osweiler. We didn't have much luck with Osweiler, even though he did save the season that year to take us to Super Bowl 50, in which they could win. Afterwards, it was kind of a rough thing. You had let's see,
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, Paxton Lynch, Drew Lock. and honestly, I still don't really have a problem with Teddy. I wish our offensive line could protect him a little bit better, but their offensive line could protect him a little bit better. But I had faith in Teddy Bridgewater when the season first started, but when the real tests came, it was kind of hard to watch at that point. But all those Broncos quarterbacks for the past 5 years have been scrambling for their lives, and if they're not mobile enough, they tend to make some bad decisions in that pocket. So
yeah,
it's I still think one of the major things they have to do is amp up that offensive line, because it has not been protection worthy of the quarterbacks for a good 5-6 years now. Even in Peyton Manning's last year, I think part of the reason why he struggled that last year was because that offensive line wasn't protecting him like his other 3 years in Denver.
Yeah.
And it just has been,
like you said, I think that's been a huge part of their issue. And that's the thing that I think a lot of the teams that are going to have openings at quarterback are not going to be they're not going to be somewhere that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to go. Just because, like, you guys have offensive line issues. The Steelers, they have offensive line issues.
Yeah.
And those are thought to be, more desirable places to go. Obviously, you guys have the great defense that is half of the equation. So that's a good landing spot in some regard. But if you're going to be getting hit, 20 times a game, I don't think that's going to be something that one of those veterans is going to want to get themselves into. So I think the first thing you'll need to do in the offseason is make some moves on the offensive line, whether that be through the draft or free agency, and then it'll probably be a little bit easier to convince one of those guys. But if you guys are looking to compete, I think Teddy can get you there, but he's not. I kind of put him in the same tier as Derek Carr, where I think Derek Carr is probably a better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater, especially at this stage in his career. But if you put weapons around him and you protect him and you can play complementary football, he's good enough to get you into the dance at least. And he's just not going to elevate anyone around him like the elite quarterbacks do. So
if I were to choose out of those original ones that we were talking about, I would probably go with Russell Wilson because of the offensive issues, because he's been known to extend plays really well, and he has a certain kind of energy he brings to the team, and maybe he needs a new atmosphere to go into to kind of bring what he brought back to Seattle,
Yeah.
And maybe that, like, kind of like how Peyton Manning was when he first came over. I wonder what he would kind of do in a new atmosphere like Mile High. And if the offensive line comes back for another year, he's been known to be a mobile quarterback who can extend the play and extend the play successfully to at least keep the ball moving down the field rather than taking all the 3-and-outs that Denver's been taking the last 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. And he's kind of in that sweet spot between the Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson in terms of age. I think he's 33, something like that. Where Aaron Rodgers is 30. Yeah, same age as us. Where Aaron Rodgers is, 39, and then I think Deshaun's only like 26 or somewhere in there. So obviously, if Deshaun can get his name clear from all those allegations, that's going to be the main thing for him before anyone's going to want to make a move to trade for him. He's got to get that stuff figured out first. So who knows? I mean, off season, hopefully all that stuff gets cleared up one way or the other. Obviously, if it goes against him, he won't be talking about playing in the league anymore. It'll be where he's putting his orange suit on. But
orange is the new black, right?
Yeah, I think there's a show. But no, I think you're definitely on the right track there with Russell. The only thing that scares me is how he's been playing this season, and I know some of it's got something to do with his finger that he had surgery on, and I think he probably rushed back trying to keep Seattle in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, probably.
There's been some rumors circulating around saying that he's playing awful to drive down the price for Seattle to screw them over. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But I think there's a pretty good chance that Pete Carroll will probably be out in Seattle, whether that's through retirement or they finally just decide, let's see what else we can do. Because I think they're going to be in a full rebuild, because there's no sense in, if you can't compete with Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin and the old guard, DK Metcalf, and then that defense has not been what it was ever since KJ Wright and obviously the Legion of Boom, they've left. So
Richard Sherman and them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty extensive rebuild with Seattle, and I don't know if Pete Carroll necessarily wants to go through that, and I know for sure Russell Wilson doesn't want to go through it, because coming off that, I think they went 12-4 last year. Didn't go to the Super Bowl or anything, but obviously had a good season. He wanted out, so coming off, they're 5-11 right now, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I know
he's definitely not going to want to stick around to come back and go through that rebuild. So I think he'll be on the move for sure, and I think you guys would make a pretty good partner there. I just don't know what they would want back in return. Obviously, I think they would be looking for some defensive pieces, which would in turn weaken your defense, but obviously boost your offense. So,
yeah.
So moving on from the Broncos, this is probably a game you're not super excited about, but I am, and that's the Raiders game against San Diego in Las Vegas. They moved that game to Sunday Night Football in a sort of winner take all. Obviously, there's some scenario where if the Colts lose, the Raiders could get in even if they lost. But obviously, you're not looking at sneaking into the playoffs backwards if you're trying to get in there. They've been playing really good football. I don't want to say really good. Defense has been playing really good. Offense has been doing just enough to win in the last 3 games. They're on a 3-game winning streak going into this game. Chargers have really been up and down all season, where they'll look real good for a couple games and then look completely off for others. Who do you have in this game?
You're probably not going to like the answer, but I'm kind of liking San Diego. Like, I think Herbert's been I think he's had his ups and downs this season, but I think he's kind of hitting a stride right now. That's kind of looking pretty good. Raiders offense or defense, they're looking pretty good as well. So it'd be an interesting matchup to see what goes on between Herbert and that Raiders defense. But I think I got San Diego, but only by 3.
Los Angeles.
Or Los Angeles, sorry. It's hard for me to get used to that and
It
Las
is.
Vegas. Every
I
time I
mean,
see
yeah.
LV in front of that Raiders thing, I'm like, what the hell? Oh, Las Vegas, we're good.
Yeah. No, I mean, even in like Madden, I'll be looking for my players in franchise mode on the rankings and all that, and I'll be looking for Oakland, and I'm like, where the hell are they? Like, it's definitely taken some getting used to. I mean, obviously, when I was much younger, they were the LA Raiders, but for most of my adult life, they've been the Oakland Raiders, and that's what
I,
I've been attached to. But
I'm still
no,
having a hard time thinking of the Rams as not in St. Louis, and it's been how
yeah.
many years now?
Yeah, no, I definitely catch myself calling the Chargers San Diego all the time too. So it's just that division thing where you're used to seeing them twice a year and referring to them as their old city. But
Yeah,
no, I think most places are picking the Chargers to win this game. I want to say it's pretty close in terms of the spread. I think it's only like a 2.5 point spread. Last I saw that Los Angeles was favored. So I could definitely see it going that way. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, like that line suggests. But obviously, with the way that the Raiders defense is playing right now, and the fact that the Chargers can't really stop the run, and the Raiders have really had a good running game in the last 3-4 weeks. So I think that it's going to be a very close fought game. I have the Raiders in this one probably by like 3, which is typically what you would see the margin being in a home game. I don't know. I just feel like with Gus Bradley, he knows that whole staff essentially. He knows their tendencies, or not the staff, the players. The staff's new there, but a lot of those tendencies. And I think Staley has a tendency to be over aggressive in a lot of those fourth down situations where a lot of other coaches would punt and kick field goals. Bisaccia is quite the opposite of that up until last week, honestly. He's been ultra conservative. So I don't know. I just feel like in a game that comes down to this, it's going to be up to the defense. And I think the way that the Raiders defense has been playing, as long as we can keep Austin Eckler in check, which that's a tough task, but look how they did against Taylor last week. Obviously, he had a 100-yard rushing game, but it wasn't like his normal games where he's getting huge chunk plays. I think he had one big run, and then the rest of the game he was averaging probably close to 3 yards a carry. So if they can limit Eckler, especially in the passing game, I like their chances there. The only concern I have is Casey Hayward went on the injury report today with the ankle, and he was limited in practice, and that's the first time he's been injured all week. So that's not ideal. If he can go, I really like him, especially how he's been playing all season. So I hate games like this because obviously if we win, we're in. Lose, it's a pretty good chance we're out. So
our teams will be golfing together.
Yeah, Raiders haven't had a meaningful playoff implication game in probably 10 years, because even when we made the playoffs in 2016, everyone knew we were going to lose because Derek Carr had his leg broken in that game leading up to the playoffs, and Connor Cook was having his first action ever and didn't do too hot. So it's definitely stressful, and I mean the anticipation been building up all week. So obviously Sunday night's going to be either really good or really bad for me, but we'll see what happens, and hoping for the best there.
It's kind of like a pre-playoff game.
In all honesty, our whole all of December and all of January so far has been a playoff game for us because we put ourselves in such a bad situation. It's basically been you need to win to get in for the last 4 weeks. So we've won 3 in a row, hopefully make it 4, and you never know what can happen in the playoffs when you go in on a hot streak like that. So next I want to do the segment where we do the best of the week and worst of the week, and I don't know if you've seen us do this yet, but essentially just you pick it can be in your life, it can be in sports, it can be whatever. Just the best thing that's happened this week, and then the worst thing that's happened this week. So I'll go first, and then maybe that'll give you some time to pick yours. My best of the week is obviously Raiders put themselves in a playoff situation where if they win, they're in. So, and then getting flex to Sunday Night Football, that's a big deal too, especially at home. So that's my best of the week. We'll see early next week if it's my worst of the week next week. But my worst of the week for this week is going to be the Antonio Brown situation. That has really just been, obviously last week on Sunday he took off his jersey, quit on his team essentially, and then this whole week has been the drama that's been attached to that, and that's essentially his side of the story is he was too hurt to go in, and so the Bucs cut him. He's been on a couple podcasts, like just losing his mind. I don't know how anyone puts up with his crap, but the Bucs side of the story was essentially he was pissed off at halftime because he hadn't had enough targets to reach his incentives. Although if he would have played this week and finished that game last week, he probably would have easily hit those incentives. But that's another story. So essentially, Bruce Arians' side of the story was he had been healthy all game, hadn't talked to the trainers about his ankle being injured or anything, had his little blow up at halftime. They got to calm down, go out for the second half, and they're losing. They call his package that he's been playing in the whole game. He said he's not going in. He waved off the offensive coordinator telling him to get in the game. So Bruce Arians went over and talked to him and said, what are you doing? Go get in the game. And at that point he said, no, I'm not going in the game. Bruce Arians tells him to get the F out of here. You're done. And then we have the tweets. I don't know if you've kept up with it. It's been crazy. Like
a little bit.
He tweets out that he was injured and this is BS. He's going to sue, whatever. And then he tweets out his bank account trying to expose Tom Brady's personal trainer. And then trying to think what the other thing was that he tweeted out. I don't know, but he was on that podcast today and he basically said he turned on Tom Brady, essentially, that's been letting him live in his house and all that stuff, really sticking his neck out to get him on the team. So I think he's pretty much burned every bridge he has left in the NFL, and I'd be shocked to see him on another NFL team. But, yeah, that's my worst of the week. So what do you have?
I think the best of the week that I saw that Spider-Man No Way Home. That's a fantastic freaking movie. It was a great blend there of multiverse stuff, and I'm kind of a nerd for multiverse stuff, so we went and watched that, and it was funny because I had read a Robert Heinlein book that was about multiverses and a parallel universe as well. So it was kind of like a whole day full of parallel and multiverse stuff. It was fantastic. I think the worst of the week, I downloaded Battlefield 2042, and probably the most disappointing I've ever been in a Battlefield game. I actually sent an email to try and get a refund from Steam where I bought it, and they actually did refund me. So I mean that was another good thing that happened. But I tried the game, and I'd rather play the previous one before that, Battlefield 5, than Battlefield 2042.
Really bad things about 2042.
It was trying to be like a futuristic Battlefield 4 with new mechanics, and it just I wasn't vibing it at all. It might be good for other people, but I've been playing Battlefield since Battlefield Bad Company 2, I think was the first one I bought. I've been impressed with all of them since. I really have never had a problem. I played the most on Battlefield 4. I freaking loved Battlefield 4. But and Battlefield 1 too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we played that one together. I sucked at that game. I'm not a big fan of shooters.
I remember you trying to hang back to sniper people, and it just wasn't working out for you.
Nope.
But yeah, I tried that game, and it was terrible.
That's bad to hear. I'm trying to remember. You don't have an Xbox, but you have
No.
the PC, right?
Yep, I bought the PC last year.
Did you happen to try Halo Infinite yet?
Not yet. That is on the wish list though from the Xbox store. So
Fair
I've been
enough.
trying to decide whether I want to get Riders Republic or
You
the
know
new
what you
Halo.
do? You get Game Pass for three
Oh yeah.
months and then play everything.
Yeah, you could
Like
do that too.
I hate I hate to promote it so much, but I feel like it's the best deal in all of gaming. Like you get all those launch days day one from Microsoft Studios. So like
Hmm.
Forza Horizon 5, that game has been just a blast. And
Yeah.
then you got Halo Infinite, and it's got a bunch of the classic Final Fantasy games on there. Like I think they have 7 through 13 X2.
Oh wow.
So and then they
I could
have
play
like
8 again.
yeah, no, I think they have 8 remastered. Last time I checked, I don't know, I haven't checked in a little bit, but there's a lot of those classic games and a lot of the remastered ones too, like 10-2 and 10 remastered. So it's like I said, it's the best gaming deal that's out there right now. And if you're interested, I've got a couple sites that sell the discounted 3 months, so
Hmm.
you can get it for like $30 a month,
Nice.
or $30 for 3 months, $10 a month,
Yeah.
and
Why,
play all those games.
why am I spending $60 then? I'm gonna
I
have to
don't
switch it
know.
up.
That's You need to talk to me because I'm always about deals. But that kind of leads into the next question. We've been asking a lot of our guests what games, books, shows, movies, whatever that you've been into lately. Sounds like the Spider-Man movie is
Yeah.
pretty good, so I'll have to check that one out. I've been
Oh
wanting
yeah.
to, I just haven't got out there yet. So,
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I highly recommend it.
any other games, books, shows?
Right now, I've been like digging the crap out of Wheel of Time, the book series,
Yeah, the book
and
series.
yeah,
Yeah,
books.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I did watch the show too. The show's good. It's they mix a little things up. I really didn't have a problem with it. The only thing I have to say about the show was the ending of the book was way more eventful than the ending of the show. So I felt like the show was a little flatter compared to the book. But other
Yeah,
than that, I was okay with the changes. I know it's going to be two different mediums, you know. I don't
for
usually
sure.
expect stuff to be exactly like the book anymore. I kind of discovered that you got to take it as two different art forms. You have the book and then you have the show. And
Yeah,
as long as you separate them a little bit, you'll never be too disappointed unless they absolutely butcher, which we
yeah,
know some of them do, like
for
Starship
sure.
Troopers.
I have a really hard time separating them. So,
Yeah.
and our last guest actually was talking quite a bit about the Raphael. He was talking a lot about the Wheel of Time series, the book, and that's his all time favorite book series. So, um, I asked him, like, in your opinion, should I do book first and then the movie, or and then the show, or show and then the book? And in my experience, I feel like if I read the book first, I'm always disappointed by the movie.
Yeah.
But then if I watch the movie or show first and then go back and read the book, I'm like, why didn't I just read the book? Because the book's way better. But I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like I had the advantage of watching Jurassic Park the movie way before I read the book because I was like 4 when the movie came out
Yeah.
and 5 when the movie came out, so probably didn't see it until I was like 8 or 9 or something like that. So of course I couldn't have took on a Michael Crichton book like that back in
Yeah.
those days, and I didn't read it until college. And when I finished reading it, the book was so much better than the movie. And we all know how great Jurassic Park the movie is. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, if I had read this, I would have been hugely disappointed when I went to watch it in theaters.
Yeah. Well, and it's always crazy to me going back and watching those movies because you remember them being like so vivid in your mind, and then you go back and
Yeah.
watch them. And it's like that. That's what I was enthralled by. Like these dinosaurs look like they're hand puppets being moved by someone just wearing a green screen or something. Like, it's crazy how far the CGI and all that has come in just the amount of years that we've been alive. But
Yeah, and but yeah, the Wheel of Time book series. If you have a chance,
oh, I'm going to.
I'm on the fourth one now. Well, I'll be reading the fourth one here in a couple days. It's a good lengthy, almost 1,000-page one, so
That's what I've
it's
heard.
gonna take a couple seconds, but
I bought,
um,
which I hate doing, but I bought the ebooks for all the Wheel of Time series, and then I bought
oh yeah,
the Sword of Truth series as well.
oh yeah,
So
I like
that was a
that.
little expensive, but I've heard really good things about both of those. And typically, I just buy the actual books, but where I don't really have a bookstore anywhere near me. Nice.
Somebody's looking out
Dog's
the
interested in something back there,
window. That's how
but
she looks out the window. She won't go down and look that way. She got to be on top of the couch. Like, oh,
of
other way.
course, better vantage point. Um, is there any movie that you've watched and you were like, that was better than the book, just off the top of your head? Because I
Oh,
have one series in mind that I can think of that I thought the movies were better than the books.
um, Forrest Gump, oddly enough, was a fantastic movie and kind of a boring book. So it's one of the few where the book actually doesn't beat the movie. I think that's
I,
like one of the rare ones, in as a matter of fact, because I'm trying to think now, and I most of the time I prefer the book over the movie, but Forrest Gump was one of the ones where I actually prefer the movie over the book.
I
I'll
didn't
probably
even
never
know
read the
that
book
was a
again.
book.
Yeah, yeah, it was a book, and
Interesting.
I would probably not waste your time on if you
Yeah,
watch
no,
the
I
movie
won't.
and adore the movie. I would just stick to the movie because I was kind of disappointed when I read the book. It
Yeah,
was, and then another one too, Fight Club. That was the other one. I
Fight
actually
Club.
do like the Fight Club movie a little bit more than the book. Um, the book has a better ending to it, but I felt like throughout the movie closely matched the book and sometimes actually beat the book. And
Yeah,
I just think the ending of the book was a little bit better than the movie, but overall the movie was better.
that's another one I didn't even know was a book. But my the only one that I can think of off the top of my head is Hunger Games, and maybe it got better like in the second, third book, but I couldn't get into the first book like at all. And I don't know if it was
Yeah.
just the writing style or what, but I was like, I'm I started reading it right as the last movie had come out, so I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and watch the movies and obviously liked them, finished all of them, and then tried to go back and read it again. And I was just like, I don't know. There's something about this book, but I cannot do it. So
Like the first book was fantastic. The second book, the entire time, Katniss is complaining about guys and dresses, and I could not get into that at all. Like the second book was kind of
yeah, I
boring
might
to
have
me.
finished the first book, but I definitely remember I was just like, not for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was
uh,
just the whole book being written like it was obviously in a 13-year-old girl or however old she was in her
yeah.
brain or what, but I just could not get into it. So,
Yeah.
is there any other book, shows, movies, anything you wanted to bring up before we call it?
Um, I've been I basically been playing like Far Cry 6. I feel like that one's getting kind of a negative name, and I don't know why. I pretty much have fun in it.
Yeah.
I've been digging that one a lot. It's kind of like Far Cry 5 with a little new mix in there with some weapons and stuff.
The funny thing
And
is that's exactly why it's getting all the negative
I
things
know, I
because
know.
they say it hasn't changed since Far Cry 3 other than a couple characters, but
Yeah, and I actually didn't come into the Far Cry series until 5 actually, so I couldn't
yeah.
speculate on that. I did enjoy 5, so of course I'm enjoying 6 because it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like the same thing as 5, but a new mix of weapons and some character stories. But overall, it's just fun to try and take down Giancarlo how do you pronounce that guy's name? Esposito or whatever.
I haven't
Um,
played it.
yeah, he's like the main villain dude in it. And great actor. Love his work.
He's the one from Breaking Bad, right?
Yep, he was
Yeah.
Gus Fring in
Yep, Gus.
Breaking Bad. So
Yeah. No, I've always looked, or they've always looked interested to me, or interesting to me, but for
yeah,
some reason, like I said, I don't really enjoy shooters, so it's not something that I typically go out and seek. But I did actually just pick up Far Cry 3. I can't remember if I got it for free or if I paid like next to nothing for it on one of those holiday sales, like Steam or Ubisoft's
yeah.
Key. I don't know where I got it from, but I installed it and played it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, can't do shooters. But, like, obviously, I can, but it has to be a special one because you and I played Destiny 2 together and Destiny, but we played those two
especially
together for hours at a time. Hours at a
especially
time.
like we played Destiny days at a time when we were unemployed and not doing anything the whole time.
Yeah.
I remember we'd play that, and I get on with you at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you get off a couple times in between there and be like, holy crap, it's 10:30 at night. We've been
Yeah.
playing this all day.
No, those were insane times. Like I was still getting paid by my teaching job because it was summer, and you had just gotten laid off from the oil field, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and we played that whole summer.
I
It's
was like
pretty
jobless
embarrassing,
for
honestly. But yeah,
I was like jobless for like 2 months, and I didn't even leave the house because everybody wants you to apply for jobs online anymore. So I'd apply for 5 jobs and then hop on to Destiny with you all day.
yep. Well, and I was definitely doing the same thing. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do because I was teaching in Arizona and in the Phoenix area, and I just loved it. But my wife hated being away from her family,
Yeah.
and so we decided to move back to Utah. And I didn't have any prospects of a job, so we just kind of moved back with nothing really to return to.
Yeah.
Moved in with her parents, and I was just applying for jobs. But when we were playing, we were still in Arizona, like packing up and doing all that stuff. So in between that, I didn't really have much to do, and Destiny definitely filled that hole. So
I
um,
remember I remember we tried to do the Vault of Glass run, and it took us like
oh god.
like 6.5 hours or something
And then
like
you
that.
guys beat it right after I had to jump off. I was so pissed when I heard that.
And we played with like a 13-year-old kid or something like that.
Oh, he was making everyone so mad because he was just squealing the whole time on the mic. Everyone's just like, mute, mute. And
he was like, yeah, he was like the only one of us that had actually played it. So he's all trying to direct a whole bunch of like, what were we, like 26, 25, 26 year olds at the time.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's like, he's like, oh, yeah, I know how to do this. I've been doing it for several times. So I'll guide you guys through. And then it was just like, he's never done it before. There's no way, or we would be done by now. It was bad. But
I
no,
remember
those
you
were the good
had,
old days.
I remember you had the brothers on.
The
Uh,
shoes.
yeah, you had those two on, and we were trying to sneak around or something like that, and
Yeah.
we couldn't use the sprint or whatever because it would alert the whatever we were sneaking around. And I remember that one of the brothers said something on the mic, and the other was like, "Be quiet, they'll hear you." And you could that 13-year-old was like silent for 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah. I'm still looking for a game that is multiplayer and can capture that same essence where it's just it just encaptures you and brings you into it, and you want to play every night or whatever. And
yeah,
really, since Destiny 2, like, we had a good group going there for a little while, but since then I really haven't found a game that's like that. And
yeah,
obviously Destiny 2 had a lot of frustrations with it, but it was a fun game.
yeah.
um, have you found anything multiplayer that is even similar in that sort of captivation level?
Uh, I haven't played a multiplayer game in a while, so I don't, not really. I think the most multiplayer I played was when we were playing Destiny 2 when it first came out.
for sure.
And then we played the Tom Clancy, the Division 2
That
for
was
a little
fun,
bit there.
but
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah. So not really. I've been kind of gaming it by myself recently. I've been trying to finish Red Dead Redemption 2, and I've been going through the BioShock series again because I heard there was a new BioShock on the way. So I got
Yeah.
excited for that and started going through the BioShocks again. But yeah, multiplayer wise, I tried Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
It was just a
I have
nightmare.
such a hard time like even getting into shooting games, so I feel like those are almost a non-starter for me. But
Yeah,
Diablo 2 Resurrected, I don't know if you played that yet.
not yet.
If you haven't played the original or that one, you should definitely grab that, and I'll definitely play with you. That's still to this day like my favorite game, PC game of all time for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
and lately I've been kind of trying some massively multiplayer online RPGs. Uh, and I mean, I remember back in the day that was the genre. That was what everyone wanted to play.
Yeah.
The problem is, most of them now are, I don't know. They're definitely catering to the casual audience more and prioritizing solo play more. So you can solo the whole MMORPG if you want, rather than playing as a group, which I guess has its benefits, but it also doesn't really lead to community building. So I don't feel like
Yeah.
that's the way to go. And then like the best one on the market right now is Final Fantasy 14 Reborn or Remaster, whatever they called it.
Yeah.
It just came out with the Endwalker expansion, and I want to play it so bad, but at the same time, it's like $13 a month to play it on
Oh
top
yeah.
of buying the game. And then it's like I'm a dad now, so I play games when I can, and that's definitely not, enough to justify a monthly subscription for a game I'm going to play maybe 4 or 5 times a month. So
Yeah.
it's frustrating, but if you find something, definitely let me know because I'm
Oh,
interested in getting back into some multiplayer gaming because I feel like there's a whole group of my friends that I don't even interact with that much anymore. That I know if we could just get one game that had us all into it, it would be a fantastic way to catch up and really just stay in touch through that. So
yeah. I do have a shooter suggestion for you though.
go on, I'll hear it.
I've been trying to get you to play Doom Eternal for a while.
Oh yeah, is that
I
multiplayer?
it is multiplayer. I haven't played it on multiplayer though. I didn't even play the last one on multiplayer either. But the story
I'm
that's a
almost
good.
positive that that's on Game Pass, so I could probably at least try it. Let me just
Yeah.
pull it up real quick.
Oh, you won't just try it. You'll be addicted. That's like
So you say.
hands down, hands down, the best shooter I've played in a
Yep.
long, long time. Like,
All
oh, it
the
was so much fun.
all the Dooms are on Game Pass. It looks like the old school
Yeah,
ones too.
I would even play the first what do they call it? Like a remake or reboot game that they did. The first Doom that came out 2015, 2016. I can't remember exactly when. I would play that one too. It was good. It was really good. It was a nice bounce back, especially after Doom 3. We won't talk about that one. And it was a really good bounce back for the Doom game franchise. And then they were like, how do we make the next game? They were probably sitting around in a staff meeting. How can we make the next game even better? And they just doubled down everything that they did in the first game and made Doom Eternal. And it was even more fun. It was fantastic. I'm trying to play it in Ultra Nightmare mode, and although that's a little frustrating, I'm still having too much fun to be mad when I die a bunch.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I would say that would be a fantastic suggestion. I know it's not I don't play the multiplayer, so I don't wouldn't couldn't speculate on that one. I don't think I've ever even been in a lobby for it. So, but the storyline is it's fun. It's a good
Well, I'll
shooter.
check it out, and maybe we can at least try the multiplayer and see what that's about. But
Yeah,
I think the only other game that I've really been into, and it's more of a party game, and it's hard getting a decent sized party into it. But that's the Jackbox Party Pack. I don't know if you ever played those ones.
I haven't. No, not those ones.
So Jackbox, it's basically just like, it's literally just party games made for when you're having a party or whatever.
Yeah.
You have it on console, PC, whatever. You stream it to the TV, and then you just use your phone. So it creates a little lobby that you use your phone as the controller essentially, and it's basically just like word games or whatever. And it's supposed to just make people laugh. So obviously, if you got a few beers in you, it can get really funny because obviously the people can say whatever, and it's oftentimes quite crude if you get the right group together. So I'm looking at probably doing a game night sort of thing where I basically share my screen and we can all do a Jackbox pack, our party pack, and play those games and just interact with a lot of the listeners and things like that. So that might be something we do soonish. So if we do that, I'll definitely hit you up if you're available, and we'll see if we can get that going. So outside of that, Path of Exile, we'll see. I've started playing that, and then Warframe I've always been into, but not super hard. So maybe start playing that a little bit more too. But yeah, I think that's all I had to talk about. Unless you had anything else you wanted to bring up before we call it a pod.
Oh, I was going to see what you thought of the Sword of Truth series before we transitioned over, and I forgot.
So I'm really close to the end of book 1, and so far I like it. The problem with any of these book series that I read is 9 times out of 10 it just makes me want to read Legend of Drizzt by R.A. Salvatore again. So like I'll get one book into a series and I'll just be like, nah, I'm just going to go back and reread Legend of Drizzt because that's definitely my all-time favorite series. And with us moving around and everything, I actually lost I don't know what edition they were. I want to say they were like edition 2 of the trilogy packs. And I say trilogy in jest because most of them are trilogies, but there's a couple of them that are quintets, and then there's a quartet in there as well. So, but it's basically just meshes them all into one big fat book, and then you can read all 4 of them or 3, whatever. But in moving, I don't know if it was the last move or the one before that. I cannot find those books, so I still have like the newer artwork books of those, but I'm still missing those old ones, so that makes me sad. But anyway, we were just talking, Kyle, Raph, and I today. We were talking about like the books that we had talked about in the last episode, and he was asking if I had started Sword of Truth, or not Sword of Truth, Wheel of Time, which you had mentioned as well, because that was Raph's favorite series. And I was like, I'm thinking about starting it, but I'm also thinking about starting Legend of Drizzt again as soon as I finish this Sword of Truth book. So, like I said, it's been entertaining. It's definitely kept me flipping pages, but it also, like I said, R.A. Salvatore. I don't know if you've had a chance to read him. If you haven't, you should. But he just has a way with words that it makes you feel like you know exactly what the characters look like, and you know exactly what the environments look like, and he explains, like, he just makes you care about the books, and I really haven't felt that in many other series. So that's why I always find myself gravitating back to his books. But
yeah,
and I don't know if you ever played Kingdoms of Amalur.
No, not that one.
Okay, well he wrote the world behind that, and then that new Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance game. I don't know if you saw that at all.
I haven't seen that one either.
Okay, well the game sucks,
I'm a little behind the
but it's based on the characters from the Legend of Drizzt series, and he wrote the whole world and everything, and helped design the levels and all that. So it's really I wish the game was better because the characters are there, the story's there, and the environment's awesome. It's just the gameplay sucks. So I haven't played it in like 6 months since it launched, because it came out in June. I think might even been on my birthday, but so they might have made some changes, and I'm sure I'll go back to it eventually because it's on Game Pass. But my first impressions over the first month and a half were not good. So might take some convincing to get me back. But
yeah.
anyway,
the Sword of Truth there. The first book's good, but wait till you get to the second one. Second one is one of my top three of that series. Of course, there's a lot to choose from because it's a long series,
Yeah, it is.
and so is Wheel of Time too now. And I wasn't gonna get stuck in a long series again after finishing Sword of Truth because I just barely finished Sword of Truth this year, in fact, and I started it in 2014 and sometimes took breaks in between books there, and because I have like 90 backlog books here at the house
Yeah.
to read, and
That's why I always
it always
hate giving
grows.
you any book suggestions because I know it's just going to go to the back of the book log and never get read. But
And the funny thing is I've actually, I think I've maybe bought 4 books for myself in the last 2 years. People are gifting them to me now, and I'm like, please stop. I still
yeah,
have 90 I gotta finish.
yeah. No, I think, in all honesty, and obviously this is just my opinion, but you should definitely move R.A. Salvatore, his series, to the front
Yeah.
because
And the
it's
and the
that
funny
good.
thing was when you suggested it and we went to that Barnes and Noble on vacation, they had all of them except for book one. So I was
Yeah,
like,
can't start on not book one.
I was like, man, Bill's gonna be mad. I can't buy it because they don't have book one.
Yeah, I mean, I have the audio books that I'm sure, I don't know how, I'm sure you could just sign into, I probably shouldn't say that because I don't know how legal that is, but you could probably log into my account and listen to them if you really wanted to, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
We could do
They,
it.
I can't remember who does the narration for those, but he's really good too. I think it's the same guy that did the Game of Thrones books, if I remember right.
Uh, I think the only person I've seen famous wise for any, because I'm not much of a book listener. I'm more of a reader. Usually, when I listen to books, I tend to fall asleep when somebody's reading them to me. But the most interesting one was a book by John Scalzi called Red Shirts, which is also a great read. I think it won a Hugo Award, if I remember right. And it's actually read by Will Wheaton.
Will?
Yeah, Will Wheaton was the audio for that one, and it's kind of funny being how he was in the Star Trek universe in Next Generation, and that book is kind of playing off of the uh, uh, jokes made about the original series back in the day about it being a cheap sci-fi show. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The
it's
guy
a
I was
pretty good
thinking
story.
of that narrates the R.A. Salvatore books is Victor Bavine, and
Okay,
he also does the Game of Thrones ones, if I remember right. And he's fantastic.
yeah,
And I don't listen to books very often anymore, but in my previous job, I was having to commute 4 times a week,
oh
hour both ways. So that was an easy way for me to get not reading in, but at least listen to the books that I wanted to read during some
yeah,
downtime. So
yeah.
obviously, I couldn't fall asleep while I was driving. So it was a great time to get those books and listen to them. So,
Yeah.
but no, I still think, like I said, finish your Wheel of Time and then R.A. Salvatore right after that because it's definitely the best.
The weird thing about the Wheel of Time too is like in between Sword of Truth books, I have to have a little bit of a gap. But I've been like diving into each Wheel of Time book almost like I'll read 2 of the books on my backlog and be right back into a Wheel of Time book. And
Yep.
so oddly enough, Wheel of Time is kind of like sucked me in to where I have to like read them almost back to back and
Yep.
still try and get some backlog books out of the way
Yeah,
too.
no, that's what I've heard. I mean, the reason I even discovered it was not the Amazon show. It was I was just like, I need a new book series to get into. So I started just looking up on Google or whatever, best book series of all time. And that one kept coming up on multiple sites. And I was like, well, let me check that one out. And then Sword of Truth was another one. And obviously R.A. Salvatore, Legend of Drizzt was also in there. So I was like, there's some credibility there. And these are showing up on all of them. So I'll try
Yeah.
it out. And I've heard really good things. I'm looking forward to starting it, but R.A. Salvatore's over there calling on my bookshelf. So.
And the great thing about like the first book too was like it would kind of world built for the first 100 pages. It was like, oh man, this first book's going to be a little rough because he's probably world building. But then like page like 102, it was like from page 102 to like I think it was like 700 pages. So all the way to like the last page was like a wild ride. And you were like, oh, at first you think it's going to be slow because, of course, sometimes the first book in a multi-series is kind of slow because they're world building and stuff like that. But it takes off at like page 102. Yep.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
and it's just, and you just don't know what's going on. And it's like a chase scene the entire time. It's fantastic.
That's interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, is there anything else you had before we?
Not much besides everybody should watch the Dune movie too. That's another magnificent movie that I'm glazed over somehow. Earlier.
Go Raiders. I want to hear you say it.
That's not going to happen.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Go
Although
Broncos
I did say
next
on
year.
the last, I did say on the last one before I knew that there were no playoff implications if the Broncos beat the Chargers. I did say go Broncos, but I will redact that now since I found out it had no bearing on the playoff standings. So, but no, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully next time we'll have either Kyle or John, and we'd definitely love to have you back on. So,
yeah, thanks for having me.
Like Tyler said, go Broncos next year, but not for me. And I believe he said something about go Raiders this weekend. So
yeah, we'll say okay. I'll say it once for you, but that's it, and you'll have video confirmation. But that's like the one time it's gonna happen. And I'm gonna feel dirty for saying this too. I'm probably gonna have to go take a shower. But go Raiders.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Appreciate you saying that. But like I said, thanks for coming on, Tyler. It's great to catch up with you. And if you find that game, let me know. Because I'm waiting for that multiplayer game to just bring me back in. So, with that, we'll call it an episode. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, any comments, questions, feedback, always welcome. So get those in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay, I stopped. You don't have to get off, but
all right.